Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Selena, and here we talk about property and making smart moves in real estate. Today's topic, how to know if a developer will slash prices. Recent launches like Ori, River Green and Springleaf Residence are pulling in huge demand, but here's the real question. How do you know if developer will actually cut prices later on? So how do you tell if prices might soften? Most buyers think prices only go up, but the truth is, not every project can keep climbing. Developers might adjust prices to hit sales target. I'm not suggesting that developers of these three developments will cut prices, but there were stories of past projects that had price cut or discount. Example will be the one Burnham. In January 2025, developers make headlines by slashing prices to avoid hefty penalties. When this project was first launched in 2021, it entered the market with a lot of excitement and it reported to have sold about 80%. But by December 2023, the actual sales figures stood at only 58%. So what's interesting is during this period, buyers were still purchasing units and they wasn't getting any discount. It was only later when penalties and deadlines came into play that developers started cutting prices to move the remaining stock. So here are the three key signals to watch out for if developers will slash prices. Number 1, percentage of units sold. 2, recent sales activities. And 3, developers' profit margin. Let's look at the first factor, percentage of units sold. Say a project launched 2 years ago is already 80% sold with just 20% unsold. In this case, the developer is unlikely to drop prices. Why? Because that last 20% is usually where they make their profit. By now, most of their financing is already secure and they are under less pressure to slash prices. But here's the key. You need to know what price that 80% was sold at. If the bulk of buyers enter at a higher price, the developer has no reason to cut. If you buy now, you want to check if you are entering at the same level or if you are overpaying compared to earlier buyers. This is why understanding percentage of units sold is so important before you commit to that unsold stock. Second factor, recent sales activity. If a project is still moving units steadily, say 5 to 6 units sold in a week or 50 to 60 units sold in a month, then it's very unlikely that developer will cut prices. Think of it this way. If your house that you are selling, you're getting 5 to 6 solid offers every week, would you suddenly slash your asking price? Of course not. So the same logic applies to developers. When sales are moving well, they have no reason to discount. It's only when sales slow down dramatically that price adjustment might even come into play. The third factor is the developer's profit margin. So how do you figure this out? You will need to know the break-even price. Basically, is the cost of the land, the construction, the financing, the legal and marketing. You use the sales price minus the break-even price that will give you the developer's profit margin. Now, if the launch price is set too high, the take-up rate will be slow. And that's when developers start to get worried because slow sales means they may not be able to secure the loans or financing they need to keep the project running smoothly. On the other hand, if the pricing is very close to break-even price, buyers see values, sales move faster, and developers will feel less pressure to cut. That's why knowing the developer's break-even costs give you an inside edge. You understand if the pricing is realistic or if they might have to adjust later. Let me illustrate this with a project called Margaret View, a project launched in 2018. The break-even price was 1551. However, it was launched at 1881 per square feet, a profit margin of about 20%. In 2018, the market for new property launches in Singapore experienced a sharp divide, with the first half seeing a flurry of activity driven by pent-up demand and en-bloc sales, and then the second half marked by significant slowdown following unexpected government cooling measures, which was introduced in July. So because of these cooling measures, ABSD was increased, LTV dropped, and Margaret View price also dropped. It was then slowly increased again, this time closer to break-even price. Let me show you another example where the developer launched at close to break-even price. Grandeur Park. Grandeur Park's break-even price was 1267 and developer launched it at 1350 per square feet. The profit margin about 6.55%. And then they increase the prices in phases, helping the buyers to make paper gain. While most of you might be tempted to jump in at the initial phase just to secure the early bird discount, I personally feel entering in phase 2 is actually safer because by then you will have a much clearer picture of how many units have already been sold, what the the weekly transaction volume looks like, and whether developers' profit margin is still within the acceptable range. That way, you're not just buying based on hype, you're buying with better information and lower risk. So in conclusion, if you want to know whether a developer is likely to drop prices, always look at these three key factors: the best percentage of units sold, the recent sales activity, and the developer profit margin. When you put this together, you have a much clearer picture of whether the project is priced to move or if there's a chance of adjustment down the road. That's all for today. If you find this useful, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.